When I started my wedding photography business a few years ago, I wish I had someone along the way to help, because I made a lot of mistakes along the way. So hopefully I can help you out today by 5 things that I wish I knew earlier about editing wedding photos, so you guys can avoid making the same mistakes that I did when I first started out. And I'm gonna start right now. Now, my first tip is quality over quantity when it comes to your wedding galleries. The last thing you want to do is bombard your client with a whole bunch of fairly mediocre photos. Ideally, you only want them to show the best of the best inside your gallery. Now, every wedding photographer is slightly different. Mine are usually 8 to 10 hours long, so I'd probably take around 2,000 to 3,000 photos, and that's per photographer. If I've got a second, obviously I'll be delivering more, but I'd probably only deliver around 500 to 600, but they're absolutely perfect. So the one thing I would avoid doing, especially as a beginner, is thinking a bigger gallery means you're a better photographer. Actually, I think it's the opposite way round. I think the more tight-knit your gallery is, a gallery that really tells a story of the day, is far more important than diluting it with a whole bunch of mediocre photos. You only want to be showing the best of your photos, in my opinion, to your clients. The 5-star photos are the ones that should be in your gallery. Another tip when it comes to editing wedding photos is making sure photos don't look too sharp and the skin tones look nice and soft. Now, you don't have to go in and create a mask every single time of the skin and then try and smooth it. There's actually a really simple process that you can just simply add to any of your presets, and that is just creating a negative clarity effect. So for example, if I go ahead to this photo here, we'll zoom into the couple. Now, if I've got my clarity here, at the moment it's at 0. If I create a slightly softer effect, you can see if I go to, let's say, -25, it softens those skin tones just enough. Now, obviously, this will make a smaller difference to a photo like this because obviously the couple are quite small in the frame. But if they take a larger proportion of the frame, you might end up showing spots and blemishes that they might not want to see. So creating a very small negative clarity effect, maybe no more than, let's say, -30, can work really well to soften out those skin tones without completely ruining your photo. And this is a tip that I would actually add to any of my presets. In fact, if you buy any of my presets online, the likelihood I've probably added a negative clarity effect to them. So that's definitely something I would recommend. And talking about presets, another really important tip is actually having a consistent style throughout your gallery. And presets are a really good way to do this. Having a consistent style from the beginning to the end of your day, basically meaning you've got a consistent exposure, you've got consistent colors. You want to look at your gallery and it just looks consistent. It looks right with no odd, really bright or really dark photos throughout your image. It should almost look like a gradient as you flow through your image from bridal prep, groom prep, all the way from ceremony and speeches, and then obviously to your first dance and maybe some dance photos. Now, your clients will probably look at it on their phone. When you first send it to them, they might view it on their computer, but most of them will probably view it on their phone. And as they scroll through, the last thing you want to do is spot out really bright or really dark inconsistencies through their gallery. And that really helps aid telling a story of their day. So one of the most important things, I think, is having a consistent style. Every wedding can look different, but every wedding should look consistent. Now, my 4th tip is all about prioritizing group photos. Now, a lot of wedding photographers just want to get the group photos done and dusted with. They might only provide maybe 10 or 20 group photos to your clients. But those are the photos that the likelihood your couples are probably going to print. Every single time I actually view what photos couples have actually asked for, and I did it last year, over 50% of them were just group photos alone. So it really shows you how important these group photos are. Now, as a beginner photographer, the likelihood you'll probably just want to get them done and dusted with, get them out of the way and focus on the couple photos because they're the ones that you want in your gallery. But it's really important that you don't skip this process or try and speed this process up. Just go through it at the same time that your couples are. If they ask for extra, try and give them extra, especially if they've got elderly grandparents or elderly parents, because the last thing you want to do is miss one, and then a few years down the line, these might be the last good photos that they have of them before they pass away. And that's something that I've really noticed with a lot of my clients. They really like the time and dedication I spend into taking group photos. I think they're really important. So don't skip out on them because you just want to get them done and focus on your couple photos or focus on something else. Group photos to the clients are usually the most important, and they're the ones that they're going to have on their wall or mantelpiece. And my last tip is to make sure that you've got web-friendly and print-friendly variants of those photos for your clients. Now, most clients will probably just download them to their phone or save them on their computer, and the photos probably won't go anywhere from there. Some of them might want to put them on their social media, and some of them might even want to print some of their photos for their gallery. So I always try and make sure I've got a web-friendly version, so a smaller version, and then a print-friendly version, so one that's actually saved in the CMYK color mode. Now to do this, let's say we've got this photo here. If I want to create a web-friendly version, so a photo that basically isn't high resolution, is a little bit smaller, what I'll do is I'll right-click, go down to export, and then go ahead and click export. Now inside here, what you want to do is drop all the way down to where you can see it says resize to fit, and you've got a height and width. I'd usually have it around maybe 2000 pixels. And obviously what we can do is once you've got the high res version, create a low res folder or a web size folder sometimes. And then I would just simply drop all these down to 2000. You can also do this inside Photoshop and save it there. So then your client can view the high res versions, but if they want to upload anything to social media, well, you've already downsized it for them. And a lot of my clients really appreciate that. The other thing you want to do is to make sure you've got a print-friendly version as well. Now, annoyingly, you can't do this inside Lightroom, but you can do it inside Photoshop. What you want to do is right-click, go down to where it says Edit In, and then simply open it up in Photoshop. Now, once it's in Photoshop, what you want to do is simply go up to Image, Mode, and then you want to drop it down to CMYK color. And what this will do is it will convert the photo from RGB color space into the CMYK color space. And that's a really important step because otherwise you will get inconsistent colors when you actually print your work. So when you are creating a gallery, two of the versions I would make is firstly obviously your high res version, but then I would create a web friendly version with the smaller files. Then I would also create a CMYK version and then obviously save them in the appropriate folder. A lot of my clients really appreciate it and hopefully your clients will too.